We haven't pressed it yet, but our hands are hovering over the panic button on two big name prospects for the 2026 NBA draft. We'll tell you why next on Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings.
You are Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings, your daily podcast on the future stars of the NBA, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA Draft with No Ceilings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. My name is Tyler Metcalf. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Joining me as always is my co-host Tyler Rucker. Rucker, on a scale of 1 to 10, how pumped are you to be a bit of a bummer and kind of critical and really negative on this episode?
I tend to be here because I love talking basketball with you, but probably like a 1 or a 2 because, I know how fans are and how passionate they are. And hey, look, we're just talking. We're doing our jobs here. So don't shoot the messenger. So we'll just split it. 5?
Oh, I'm at like a 1. I'm dreading this. We will end with something positive, the best thing in the basketball world that we saw. But we're gonna unfortunately have to rip the Band-Aid off with Nate Ament and Chris Cenac. And Rucker, like you said, we wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't address some of the concerns. It can't just be all sunshine and rainbows all the time. And again, I cannot preface this enough. We are not rooting against these guys. We are not trying to attack them individually. It's just two really talented players who had a lot of expectations coming into the year. And so far, I don't think they've met them. And they need to really turn their season around in a hurry. If they do, we can have a very different and fun conversation in a month, 2 months, 3 months. But that hasn't happened yet. So let's start with Chris Cenac, 6'11", 240-pound freshman forward at Houston, currently averaging 9.3 points, 7.4 rebounds, 0.6 assists, 0.5 blocks, 0.4 steals, 1.3 turnovers, 2.7 fouls on 49% shooting, 40% from three, and 63.6% from the line. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, I think it's the most important thing is to kind of also say like, hey, look, we're talking just as like prospects or, draft buzz.
Or specifically this year.
Yes, for specifically this year. We're not talking about like, hey, yes, we're talking about Chris Cenac out of Houston, who they look like a team that could make a national championship run. Mm-hmm. So it's like, we're talking as prospects, as hype coming into the year specifically. Okay, now hopefully that caught some fans to calm down a little bit. So look, Cenac is probably one of those players that I feel like I'm personally still high on. And a lot of people look at me and be like, are you crazy? Why do you still have him here? And I'm like, well, because I think coming into the year, me and you specifically talked about how patient we had to be with Chris. Like he was going to be this big man that really required some patience and was going to test some people. He's still 18 years old. We talk about a lot of these players that are like, hey, they're extremely young. He's right there. He's a very, very young big. But there's fun tools. There's fun, awesome upside, but it's very raw. And
it's way more raw than I thought it was.
Exactly. I think, I thought it was going to take a long time for it to come out on the full display. I thought we were going to get to conference play and start getting a little bit more consistent showcases of flashes. And then I thought maybe, hey, tournament time, we might start seeing like, oh, Chris has had a couple of games where it's like, there it is. That's what scouts were drooling over. I still think we're very raw right now.
We're still at kind of where we were in October. And I was hoping to see a lot more growth. Like a lot of the other top guys are coming into the year. Cenac was one of those names that got consistently thrown out of like, oh, could this be one of those guys that sneaks into the top 5? Could he be in the conversation as one of these game-changing type of prospects? And when we look at the top 3 guys and even guys like Kingston Flemings and Caleb Wilson and just Darius Acuff, like we're seeing really drastic improvements in the season from those guys. We haven't gotten any of that from Cenac, unfortunately. I love the rebounding on both ends of the floor. It's very good. 8.8 offensive rebounding rate, 26.6 defensive rebounding rate. I like the shot, 40% from outside. The shot looks really smooth, really repeatable, and really versatile, especially off the catch. Not like movement stuff, but like legit spot up, floor spacing, pick and pop type threat. Unfortunately, nothing else has really come along. Like there's no off the bounce game on offense. There's no passing whatsoever. And he has an assist rate of 4.3. But even more concerning for me, the defense feels so much further behind than I thought it was going to be.
I think, if he was having these type of like numbers wise, beginning of the year, me and you had talked about this on a number of podcasts, and we were like, hey, we're expecting the production's not going to be high. But I think we were like, if the defense is that good, it's still going to get teams drooling over the upside. And it's like, that's why he can be a top 10 pick. It's like, hey, he might not put up, 15 and 10. He might be more of the 11 and 7. But if he's being really dominant defensively and having a couple blocks and offering, this on defensive side of the ball, that's where he's still going to be a top 10 pick. We haven't gotten that, as you're saying. Like, you haven't felt him defensively. Now, you could say that for Houston, probably. Kelvin Sampson's had a couple quotes this year where it's like he feels gross that they're more of an offensive team now than the old school defense, but it's still with Cenac, you don't feel that impact. And it goes to talk about bigs. Like they're strange prospects because not only watching them as an evaluator or a scout, but coaching them, they all click differently. Like all of a sudden something hits them where it's like, oh, the light switch is flicked. And you hear Kelvin Sampson, he's had a couple of quotes this year where he's talking about coaching Cenac. And he's like, look, I love Chris. And I'm paraphrasing this, but it was mainly like, hey, I love coaching Chris, but you never know which Chris you're getting each day. Yeah. Like, so he's like, he just needs the more consistent and the motor. And I think that's the same thing you've heard with Chris Cenac as a prospect. And there's no denying that he's still got so much talent and upside, but now we're at the point where it's like, okay, it's still not coming in year one. Is he still a one and done? Is he a guy that's going to be a multi-year college player? I think that's the conversation that's entering the picture now.
And we always knew that he was going to be a little chaotic on defense because of the athletic tools, because of how raw he was. But I still thought that was going to generate more defensive events and be more of a defensive playmaker, even if it wasn't always fundamentally and structurally sound. But it's been a little chaotic without the events. I mean, he has 7 steals on the year and 8 blocks on the year. That's just not good enough. And then it gets even worse when you look at the rates and the ratios and all that kind of stuff. I mean, steal rate of 1.1, block rate of 2.8. Those are unacceptable for a guy that athletic at his size. And then it gets even worse when you look at the steal to turnover ratio of 0.33. For comparison to Jojo Tugler, his teammate, who is one of the better defenders in the country. So take it with a grain of salt. But that he's at 1.35. That's a huge difference. You would expect there to be a difference. Not that big. And then his block to foul rate is 0.19. So he's not getting blocks and he's fouling a lot. I don't know what he's bringing to the table at this point of January 11th or 12th, as you're listening to this, to warrant him legitimately being a one and done outside of, well, he's 6'10 and he can shoot, and that idea is really fun. Ideas don't get minutes.
The seeing him in person, I feel like helped it a little bit, where you could see how hard Houston's coaching him. You could see how hard he's accepting. Like he's willing to accept that coaching, which is a big plus for a player. But you also I feel like you can kind of see it on tape, but in person it stands out more. Things haven't slowed down for him defensively. He's playing with a high motor and he's wanting to be everywhere, but it's almost like that anxious energy of like you're trying to make sure you're in the right place, but you might be like half a second too slow.
Yeah,
I think another year in a full offseason right now, my hot take would be like, oh my gosh, he could be a top 5 pick. But it just seems right now it's like, okay, if this stays the course the whole rest of the year, I feel like Chris could be a one and done where you're like, is he more in that 20 range where you're like, man, if the right team gets him and is really patient, and maybe, but you just want a little bit more right now for him as a prospect. Is he important for Houston trying to win a national championship? Absolutely. But I think we're just patiently waiting to see if the light switch, flips at any time. And it could happen in the next couple games, but you're just kind of like, okay, we're running out of time a little bit. In a couple months, you're going to be like, hey, got a month until March starts, buddy. Here we go.
Yeah. And this is something that I've been pushing back more and more on recently, is the idea of, an NBA team can be patient with them. It's like, yeah, that idea sounds fun. It never happens. Like, if a guy isn't actually playing in his first 2 years, good or bad, like just getting minutes, we rarely ever see them really take that leap. And I'm my two examples are a little close to home, just because I watch the Timberwolves the most. But it's like, we talked about Josh Minot a lot like that. It's like, oh man, in a couple years, it's like, okay, well, he's not playing ever. Leonard Miller, who a couple things fall into place a couple years from now, and nothing's happened. And I know they're not the only guys. It happens every year across the league, and I worry that Cenac could fall into that bucket, where it's like just going back to school for another year, having a nice little NIL check, and really getting that exposure, that coaching, letting the game slow down could do wonders for his game.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen it with Boston as a Celtics fan. I think we see it with NBA teams all the time. They just, teams don't do it anymore. There's a rare teams that do it. Like Boston, is doing it this year with Hugo Gonzalez, but it's like they're also doing it because they need guys to step up. Their superstar was hurt. They're like, hey, we're either going to play guys and develop them this year, or now all of a sudden Boston's looking up and being like, oh my gosh, we're the 3 seed in the East. We're half a game out of the 2 as we're recording this. So the situation's changed, but you're right on. There's not a lot of teams that do it. We used to talk about this all the time. It's like, well, a young team or a team could take them and just kind of be patient for a couple years. Maybe the last successful is that I could think of off the top of my head. Maybe Denver with Peyton Watson.
Like, but you still getting like spot minutes here and there.
Exactly.
So
they made him as like a specialized weapon off the bench for a couple of years, and now they're like, oh, we're actually going to play you more, but you still have to play. You can't just be like, like James Najee full circle, getting drafted second round, and a team was like, put him overseas. Now he's trying to play college basketball. It's just teams you don't really have the front offices that have that much of job security anymore.
Yeah. Well, someone else who could test the front office's job security is Nate Ament, who we'll get to right after this. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. It adds extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So, before tip off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour. Every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Okay, the other big name guy who we've mentioned quite a bit this year, and had our reservations coming into the season, unfortunately, is Tennessee freshman Nate Ament, another 6'10", 207-pound wing forward, whatever you want to classify him as, at Tennessee. Hasn't, unfortunately, gone as hoped. The raw numbers are okay. They're a little more encouraging than Cenac's, but Ament is averaging 14.9 points, 6.4 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 0.3 blocks, 1.4 steals on shooting splits of 40.3, 28.8, 74.8. Where do you want to go?
I'm trying to look. Okay, so this one's been tough for me personally all year. And it's more, I was personally like saying to a lot of draft fans out there, and honestly, a lot of scouts. I was like, hey, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Everyone's billing him as he should be, there's a lot of people that I respect that were trying to bill him as like he's right up there with the big three. He's a top 5 pick guaranteed. And I was like, okay, first of all, you see the top 3 with AJ DeBanza, Darren Peterson, Cameron Boozer. And then you watch their film, you do your evaluation, you see the strengths, weaknesses, and you're out of high school. We were like, wow, really talented players. Then you drop to Nate. And when you're just watching film and you're like, this one looks a little different.
Yeah.
That's what happened with Nate. And I was like, this one looks a little different. I'm not saying that when I watched it, I was like, he's no good. I was just like, this one looks like there's more questions than the others.
Yeah.
Then you watch someone like Caleb Wilson. You're like, oh my gosh. So look, it's just with Nate. I think he's still talented. He's so young still. Another guy that I think he's still 18. It just seems like there's guys in every class where it's like, hey, the one and done really isn't as smooth as we're thinking. The idea is really scary. This is my big, like, you're drafting the idea guy this year right now. Nate's just looked like he's really tried to overhaul his frame because coming into the year, he was, I think, recruited and he was 6'10", 190. I think he's around 207 right now. That's fantastic. What a great job by Tennessee and Nate to put frame on. But it's just the playing style doesn't look like a lottery guy to me right now. And it's the play on the court. It's the lack of efficiency. It's the lack really of an elite skill. I don't know what his NBA skill is right now because you can tell me he's a great shooter. And I'm like, he's shooting, what, 20% from 3? In the 20s? Sorry. I'm estimating.
28.8.
Okay, 28.8. I don't care how good or how bad of a cold streak you have. At some point, you got to be able to shoot the ball if you're built as a shooter. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to figure out what is Nate at the NBA level and why would you draft him in the first round right now?
I honestly don't have an answer to that question, which sucks. Because I remember when we saw him at Hoop Summit, I was way more optimistic on him than you guys were. I thought he had a really good week of practices. I really liked how he kept his dribble alive through contact and in traffic. And I thought he was making some nice passing reads out of those situations. It's like, oh man, once this guy gets a little stronger, there's a lot of fun stuff, like bully ball stuff that he could grow into. Well, he's gotten stronger and he's still playing like that skinny high school kid because he's not creating any advantages ever. He's getting to the line a bunch, which is fun. But it's all basically stemmed from crafty head fakes and footwork and stuff in the mid-range. And how translatable is that when you don't have other things to go to? I'm not sure. Like AJ DeBonsa does a lot of that head fake, foul drawing stuff in the mid-range too. But he's also playmaking at a much higher rate. He's also getting to the rim whenever he wants. So defenders are constantly on their heels. And as defenders are adjusting to Ament's game and being like, oh, he can't turn the corner on me at all, I'm just going to stay grounded, make him make the tough shot instead. Like college defenders are going to figure it out. NBA defenders sure as heck are as well. So I'm like, when we look at the 6'10" shooter who people are trying to call Kevin Durant coming into the season, spoiler, folks, it's never Kevin Durant. They're never Kevin Durant. And he has an effective field goal rate of 45.7. When we look at synergy, and 44th percentile in transition, 33rd percentile spotting up, 46th percentile running off screens, 24th percentile as the pick and roll ball handler. When we add in passes to his pick and roll possessions, 10th percentile. Then when we go to the shot, it's 32nd percentile shooting off the catch, 56th percentile shooting off the bounce, but just 28.6% from 3. All of these numbers are horrible. And then in the half court at the rim, he's shooting 41.7%. You're 6'10". That has to, if that was at 50, it'd be like, man, this isn't good. But it's okay.
There's skinny guards that are shooting like 65% in the half court at the rim. And we get Nate, who's at 40. And I didn't mean to interrupt you. Did you have anything else? Because I have some numbers too.
No.
No, so just so people don't think we're hating, like, I've asked around to scouts and they feel the same. They're like, and the problem is I'm asking scouts like to convince me otherwise. Cause I'm like, hey, I'm trying to find positivity with each guy. And they have people telling them like, hey, I don't see it with Nate, which is like, so you have people in the college basketball world and NBA world all saying like, hey, it's really getting gross. But here's some numbers. So his best splits of the year right now are 17, 7, and 3 with almost 2 steals a game, which you're like, that sounds great. I could work with that. That's on 40.4% from the field, 30.8% from 3, and 82% from the line, but that's at 7.8 free throw attempts per game. So that was like when everyone's like, hey, he's not shooting it great, but he's getting to the line a bunch. And I was like, okay, you have an argument right now. His next 5 games, 11, 5, and 2 with shooting splits of 37, 25, 63, and 3.8 free throw attempts per game. So it's like the free throw attempts in the beginning of the year were where he was just everyone that was still buying Nate was hanging on to this of like, look, he's getting to the free throw line. I was like, okay, that's going to fade a little bit. And then we're going to be like, well, what is it now? It's still not like his last couple of games, his last 3 games, his shooting splits are still 45, 28, 63. And he's at 12 and 4 with 2 assists per game. I'm always very patient with sometimes just the fit and the place that a prospect goes can really be the reason why they're struggling so much. And sometimes it might not bake like my biggest thing. 1 year doesn't tell a story is what, I've said a long times at No Ceilings. Seeing guys like VJ Edgecombe had a really rough kind of first half of the year, if you want to put it that way, at Baylor. Keontae George didn't have the greatest season at Baylor. It just feels different though with Nate. It just feels like there's more concerns than I'm used to seeing.
And it's a lot of stuff. It's all of the stuff that mirrored the high school inconsistencies.
Which is loud. Yes.
Yeah. So if there were questions that we had coming out of high school that have been amplified by college play, what's it going to look like against NBA guys? I'm not saying he's never going to get there or whatever, but he's so much further away than people wanted to admit coming into the year. And I don't, you asked it earlier, what is his elite skill? And right now, I don't know, because 2 months ago, I would have said the shooting, but it's gone. And it's not just, he's not dialed in because he put on all this weight and he's a lot stronger. Like his misses are all over the place. It's not like he's just leaving it short, like he needs to get stronger, or just missing long consistently, like he's gotten too strong and doesn't know his own strength. It's everywhere. And I don't know what the fix is. I really, really hope that he just starts diving in and obsessing over Chris Middleton film, because he's not Kevin Durant. But if the old school, crafty, mid-range creator playing in more of an off-ball role, that's who he's going to have to be. And that's a really, really difficult path. And it's not one that we get out of top 5 guys.
Look, if he was making those shots, if he was Middleton and making mid-range shots and he was like, hey, he can't separate consistently, but now he's going to get down the footwork and he's going to be a guy that can just shoot over guys because he's tall and he's got that high release. And then he's shooting high 30% from deep on good volume. Oh, yeah, I'm buying in.
Exactly. Same.
But we're asking for basically, if you're saying he can do that, you're like, well, you're asking him to basically to buy a house, break it all down and rebuild it in like 5 months.
Yep.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a lot. Hey, we're going to draft you not because of who you are. And we're going to just completely rebuild you in 1 year. Like, wow. Could it happen? Yeah. But what are you telling a kid? Like, hey, we drafted you, but he don't like how you play at all.
Yeah. But we want you to fix that. Just I forget what movie, but it's like you just pointed to all of me.
Catalina wine mixer. Yeah, there's something about your face. But like, I'm rooting for Nate Metcalf because you could see why the idea would be awesome.
Oh yeah,
just terrified of drafting the idea. I think you lose your job when you drop the idea.
Bingo. All right.
And we're rooting for all these guys. I
Of
hate
course,
doing this because we're
I
rooting for
know,
all these guys.
I know.
Just want everyone to remember that. Like, we root for them.
I know.
Don't want them to come out and be like, oh, they're not going to make it.
We want them to succeed. That's why we're being
Yes.
harsh and not harsh, honest. Well, something else we're going to be honest about is the best thing we saw recently. End on a high note right after this. During basketball season, there's nothing like being in the building. The energy, the crowd, that first big run that gets everyone on their feet. Fans want to be there for those moments, not stuck refreshing screens or guessing what tickets are really going to cost. That's where Gametime comes in. The Gametime app gives fans the advantage back, making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets, fast, simple, and without the guesswork. Prices include fees up front, so the total is clear from the start. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Gametime app today and get in on the action. Okay, Rucker. Best thing you saw in the basketball world recently. This could be pickup, something at the gym, a high school highlight, some absurd overseas clip of fans going crazy, something in an NBA game, anything in the world, in the basketball world.
I saw. I think it was a highlight from a game, and I think it was the Virginia band, and it was a kid who basically the whole stadium was really mad about a call, and they showed a kid in the band, and he had glasses, and he, as the camera's showing him, he takes off his glasses and literally gives it to the camera like, does the ref need these glasses to look? I've watched the clip 400 times. We're going to have to clip this. I've watched it 400 times. I laugh harder every single time. So that was the best thing I saw. Like, what an elite. And he realizes that he's being recorded for TV. So he keeps looking up at the Jumbotron, but then points directly at the camera for TV. And I was like, great awareness, great IQ. It was unbelievable.
Paying attention to the important things during the game. Well, I'm going to go with just an overall game because we're recording this right after I got back from covering the Timberwolves Spurs game on Sunday night, and what a game! If you get the opportunity, I highly, 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 highly recommend going out of your way to see Victor Wembanyama in person. It is. This isn't the first time I've seen him. It's been a couple times now, but it's an experience. And watching all of the weird micro muscle warm up things that he does during warm ups is really interesting, really fun, and gives you a fun insight into how meticulous he is about everything in his life and how much he takes care of his body. But then even just seeing how the other team reacts to him on defense is insane, where there's just so much hesitation and guys just don't attack the rim ever because they're like, oh, I got this alien back there. I think I might be one or two off here, but it was not a pretty offensive game from either team, but the Timberwolves had made 3 shots. I believe they had 3 field goal makes in the first half when Wembanyama was on the floor. It was insane. He was a plus 17 in the game. They lost by 1 because the Wolves were better. It was a really fun game. But also on the flip side, Julius Randle played awesome defense down the stretch, and it was just a really, really fun game. And when or if you're able to go watch Victor in person, just see how he's able to single-handedly control the paint on the defense, but then also what that unlocks for his guards like Steph Castle and Dylan Harper and Keldon Johnson to be super aggressive at the point of attack because they know if they get beat, they're just funneling the ball handler into this giant who's going to swat everything. So that's what I got.
I got to see him as a prospect when the Metropolitan 92s played Scoot Henderson and the Ignite. Me and Albert Gim went to Vegas or Henderson, Nevada, and standing courtside is definitely an experience when Victor walks out and you just go, oh my God. I'm around 6'3", and you just look up and you're like, I feel 5'8". 5-5 right now with this Giant. So I get it. It's unbelievable experience.
It's always, and every time it's just like, oh yeah, this is different.
Oh yeah, this is why I was never ever going to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, crazy. All right, well, we got a really fun week on the feed this week. The rest of the guys are going to be breaking down the top 30 of our big board over at NoCeilingsNBA.com. They'll be doing that Tuesday through Thursday. We'll be back on Friday with like just a couple of our favorite sleepers in the second round. But until then, he is Tyler Rucker. You can follow him at Tyler_Rucker. I'm Tyler Metcalf. You can follow me at TMetcalf11. Thank you for listening to Locked On NBA Draft with no ceilings and making us your first listen every day.